Hello, my name is Jim Fleming, Dr. Jim Fleming. I'm a psychiatrist, and I'm back now for another recording. This time we're going to go into more detail about the process of what I'm referring to as effortless meditation. In the first video on this website, which was recorded in the early days of the lockdown due to the coronavirus pandemic, I described the connection that each of us has to a universal level of reality that we can access and that is beyond our individual strengths and limitations and is actually beyond the relative field. And I presented a case based on an understanding of the different layers of physical creation that physics has described to us. And we won't review that today. We're going to go into more detail about the actual mechanics of meditation. We'll have a longer experience of what we refer to as the simplest form of awareness. And we're going to, by the way, that phrase was used by my meditation teacher, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, probably about 20 years ago. And he spoke with medical doctors at that time who were meditating, and he encouraged us to teach our patients this simple strategy. And there's a more involved technique called transcendental meditation, which is also available at tm.org. And I welcome anyone to look at that website and pursue that. But we can actually gain benefit from this simple this practice, which Maharishi called simplest form of awareness, and which I'm referring to today as as effortless meditation. So the process is effortless. The process is effortless because we're using the nature of the mind and the nature of the body. Okay. So what is the nature of the mind? The nature of the mind is to seek more happiness, more peace, more fullness. And in the words of behavior science, we're just using our inherent reward system that we're born with. We're sitting in a room talking to someone, we hear some very interesting music or a conversation in the other room. Our attention goes to that conversation. There's no effort needed to go there. So we use the nature of the mind. Okay? It turns out, and experience has shown that the quieter levels of the mind are more charming. There's more happiness, more peace, more fullness at the deeper, the more quieter levels of the mind. And since our minds and emotions are connected 100% of the time to our bodies, not only our brain and nervous system, but our entire body, it's important that to understand that we're also going to be using the nature of the body during this effortless meditation process. What is the nature of the body? Nature of the body is to maintain balance, to maintain homeostasis. We can think of our body as a loyal servant, okay, serving ourself and our mind, which is the mediator really between our environment, our body, and ourselves. The body likes stability, and it wants to, as a good servant, it wants to be available and have optimum and maximum responsiveness, and that means that it needs balance. Now, getting back to the nature of the mind, experience of countless practitioners of meditation in every culture really have shown that these quieter levels of the mind, these deeper levels of the mind, are characterized by more happiness, more peace, more fullness. And so it makes sense that the mind will want to gravitate there. And because of that, no effort is needed. Now, this is in contrast to the notion of meditation as or the notion of the mind as a monkey mind, okay? And it's mentioned that the mind is hard to control because it's sort of like a monkey jumping from branch to branch. Now, superficially, that kind of makes sense. That might be what we observe. But if we took the perspective of the monkey, it's pretty clear that there's a purpose to the monkey jumping from one branch to the other. He or she is trying to get at some better fruit or some other kind of food, maybe looking for a mate, or perhaps just catching up on the local news from the other side of the jungle. But in any case, there's a purpose to each movement. It's not just random. And like that, the mind is moving. Perhaps the mind is wandering around, and some people experience racing mind, but it's doing that for a purpose. It's seeking either relief from some uncomfortable feeling or thought, or it's seeking some greater fulfillment, some greater happiness. Okay? But either way, we're going to use that natural tendency. One thing is for sure, we couldn't eliminate thoughts. Okay? So even though the simplest form of awareness is a state simply of the mind being alert, awake in and of itself, not directed outwards, we can't clear the mind of thoughts, because the very process of trying to clear the mind would be an increase in mental activity. Okay? I think that makes sense logically to everyone. Now, getting back to the body for a minute. Said the nature of the body is to create stability, to maintain stability and balance, or homeostasis, as the term in physiology is used. And what we experience bodily is going to depend on what is going on. Now, during the meditation process, as the mind is settling down and becoming quiet, which it will do spontaneously, and we'll have an opportunity to experience that in a few minutes. As it's settling down, the body, being connected to the mind 100% of the time, settles down and starts to get some rest. But because there may be some stressors, some tension, there may be some changes in the physiology that kind of bring us out more on a surface level. And this is these different experiences are something we can talk about, but for today it's important to just know that we don't mind during meditation what is happening. We don't try to remove thoughts. We don't try to change our breathing. We don't resent any particular experience we're having. If we have an itch, we scratch it. If we need to move because we've got a little crimp in our back, we move. Okay, very simple. So, before we have an experience of meditation, I wanted to put this in the context of modern understanding of our nervous system and how it deals with stress. So in contrast to the voluntary nervous system, which requires conscious thought, if I decide to get up and make a sandwich, that takes particular thought, going in a particular direction, finding the bread and whatever I'm going to put on the sandwich, etc. But the autonomic nervous system exists separately, and that is sort of an automatic nervous system, and that has two branches. One is the sympathetic nervous system, which we refer to as the fight or flight system, kind of our emergency management system. And then the parasympathetic, which is our rest and digest system. Okay, so it's to recover from emergencies, and it's just to recover from just a normal day of activity when we're trying to settle down, when we're getting ready to go to sleep at night, etc. And after we've had a meal, we want to be able to be in a fairly calm enough state that we can digest, and the parasympathetic nervous system helps with that. Intimacy, kind of quiet planning and thinking, sharing with others is also requires a parasympathetic predominance over an emergency, the predominance of the sympathetic system. Okay, so the balance occurs spontaneously. The mind settles down, the body gets deep rest, and breathing will shift somewhat. So one thing that happens is we shift from chest breathing to more diaphragmatic breathing. And when that happens, the vagus nerve, which is part of the parasympathetic nervous system, gets stimulated. And the vagus means wandering, so the vagus nerve will basically send out a signal that it's time to rest, time to take it easy. There's no emergency. There's not a wolf at the door, so to speak. Okay? All right. So at this point, it should be clear that this technique of meditation is very simple. It's really uncomplicated. There's really not much to do. Okay? And we're going to be starting in a couple minutes here, but we'll be sitting easily. We'll be closing our eyes, and we'll be starting in a step-by-step fashion. But closing the eyes allows the inward direction of the mind to occur in an effortless way. So we're not drawn out to whatever else is going on in the environment. And this will allow the mind to settle down to the quieter levels. And without trying to concentrate or force the mind in any way, we can also let our attention just gently be with our breathing. Just notice our breathing, not trying to change it, not trying to control the breath, just noticing it. That's it, okay? We can also notice that our belly, our abdomen is soft, and we can even imagine we're breathing into our legs, okay, if that were possible, or into our feet, okay? And then when we exhale, it naturally will just be an effortless exhale. And we're not noticing necessarily or trying to control the inhale and exhale. We're not counting in this particular meditation. We're just noticing it, okay? If our mind drifts off and we're thinking about something else, we just bring it back to the process of noticing the breath, noticing the tummy, the belly soft, etc. Okay? Now, some people find it helpful to have quiet, kind of meditative music in the back. Not everyone does. You can have just quiet, and the process can occur without any of that. Today we're going to use a little bit of this once we get started. If you prefer not to, you might want to, right before we get started, have your sound button on your device turned down so that you're not bothered by that. And then we'll be meditating for several minutes. Okay? So remember, we don't mind thoughts as they come. We don't mind sensations as they arise. We don't mind noises we hear. We really don't mind anything. We don't resist anything. We just take it as it comes. All right? So that was about a 10-minute introduction, and now I think we're probably ready to do some meditation. So let's sit comfortably, and let's just close our eyes. And let's open our eyes. And again, let's close our eyes. Slowly open the eyes. So everyone should have their eyes open now. And did you feel some quietness? Did you notice some quietness, some silence? Okay. Most people notice some settling down. And you may have noticed some thoughts come in the quietness. And those thoughts come spontaneously. We really don't have to try. It's really effortless. And that effortlessness is a hint as to how we do this meditation. We don't do very much. When we close our eyes, we just effortlessly allow our attention to be easily with our breathing and our soft abdomen, our soft belly. Okay? So that's what we'll do now. So we don't mind, again, that our thoughts might be going elsewhere. And when we become aware we're off the process, we just gently bring it back. That's it. Very simple. All right. So we'll be meditating for a few minutes. And let's go ahead and close our eyes. And if you want to turn down your volume now so that you don't hear the music, that would be fine. The music will be quiet. So let's close our eyes. Now, as we begin to bring our awareness back to this time and this place, let's allow ourselves a minute or so to slowly readjust and allow our mind and body to readjust to a more active state again after being very quiet. So before we open our eyes, let's just take a minute. You can stretch. At some point, you can try opening the eyes downcast, and if you feel some contrast, then give it another minute. So let's bring our attention back. You can, if you're ready, you can try opening the eyes very slowly. No need to rush this. Our physiology has been quiet for a few minutes, and our mind's been quiet. Now we're going to come back into activity, so we give it a little time to readjust. Okay, so was it easy? Hopefully it was easy for everyone and simple. It doesn't mean it was always quiet or blissful or peaceful, but at least the process should be simple. It should be easy. We shouldn't be straining, okay? And remember, there's not much to do. No effort, no concentration. We don't try to control thinking. We don't try to control our breathing or anything else. We don't resist anything. We just take it as it comes. And our only focus is a gentle focus on our breath and on our soft abdomen, our soft belly. Okay? All right, so you can actually begin to use this if you find it helpful. If you found it helpful today, you can begin to use this for a few minutes, setting aside a few minutes in the morning before breakfast, hopefully, after you get up and get your hygiene taken care of, etc. And then again before an evening meal, or you can do it in the middle of the afternoon. It's best to do it before a meal. A small snack is okay if you're hungry. And then it's probably best to do it a couple of hours or more before bedtime. If we fall asleep or we get sleepy during the meditation, that is not considered a failure. That is considered to be just allowing the natural process of whatever the mind and body need to get what they need. Okay? So mind could be active, we could be quiet and peaceful, blissful even, or we could find ourselves getting sleepy and tired. That probably is an indication that we need more rest. Maybe we're not getting enough sleep at night. All right? Well, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this is useful to you. If there's an interest in more personalized instruction, which is really recommended, please contact me through the website, jflemingemd@yahoo.com. There's a phone number there also, my office, 816-213-1885. And if there's enough people, we could have a session with just a few people, and we could make arrangements for that. There would not be much of a charge. It would make it easy for everyone to practice this, because it's really very important. Well, thank you very much, and have a blessed day.